Welcome to the Trail Manners Podcast, the place where the trail community comes alive. I'm your host, Aric Manning, coming to you from the beautiful trails of Ogden, Utah, and connecting you to the trail, ultra, and mountain running community everywhere. Since 2015, we've been chasing dirt, vert, and stories that inspire, from epic adventures to everyday trail legends. So now, it's that time to top off your water, grab some cheese curds, and join us for this week's podcast, where we take you deep into the heart of our sport. It's go time. All right, welcome back to another edition of the Trail Manners Podcast. I'm your host, Aric Manning. Launch date on this is 12/9, December 9th, 2025. We're cruising right through December. Hope you enjoyed our past episodes. We had our gear gift guides. Some of those things are already getting outdated after TRE last week, but that's the way it goes. And hope you enjoyed the last episode. We had Adam Wolf on. Adam was a 17-year-old / 18-year-old Rocky Mountain Slam finisher. At 18, started at 17, finished 18. Fun episode. Man, I remember when I was young. Seems like forever ago, but Adam was a great guest. We do have next episode coming up, episode 348. We have some changes there, so I'll get to that later. But first, we'll introduce our guest. As we talked about a few weeks ago on the podcast, we have a guest back to the show. Preston Wood is with us.
Happy to be here.
Preston is a Hardrock finisher in 2025 and currently sits 15th on the wait list for 2026, just right behind Dakota Jones and Bronco Billy.
Yeah.
That's a few others ahead.
I mean, just right where I belong, right by those guys, yeah.
Right. And that's going to be the finish order of the race, of those three. But chances of getting in, we talked about this a little bit. Last year, it only dropped a few.
Yeah, it only went like 3 deep on the finishers wait list for the men. There's other years where it goes 15, 16-ish, so I'm kind of right on that bubble where I might get in, but probably not. But we'll get ready for it.
That's what I was going to say. What's your strategy? Are you going to plan on your in?
Yeah.
Cool.
And, I mean, there's enough to do down there, I think, with other people running, and, we'll dive into that a little bit, but plan on being down there at least for the trail work because you get an extra ticket if you do 2 days of trail work. So I'm planning on doing that, and then by then I'll probably know if I'm running or not. And if I'm running, I'll stay the extra week, and if not, I just won't.
Plan B.
Yeah.
What's Plan B?
Well, Plan B is,
if you don't get into Hardrock,
that's where it gets tough. So I'm already in Angeles Crest, like we talked about. Mm-hmm. If I'm not going to get into Hardrock, I'll probably hop in a 50 miler or 100K sometime early midsummer. Ideally, maybe 100K that's a Western qualifier, so that everything's not riding on Angeles Crest at the end of the year, because that race has been canceled several times and it'd be a little risky. It makes me a little nervous that my only qualifier for Western would be in October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you'll be like, if you're Hardrock fit, you could really get into anything at that point,
sure.
Right? Like if you want to jump in, but things fill too.
Yeah,
so
they
then
do.
You're kind of like, okay, do I spend the extra money, $500+ for another 100 in July-ish, and hope I don't get into Hardrock? If I get into Hardrock, I just made a solid donation to a race.
As we're talking through this, another thought might be, do I throw my hat in the Cascade Crest lottery?
I don't think you should.
Okay.
Yeah, because that will worsen my odds.
Okay.
So let's get that straight. So I've been chasing that one for too long. So I think this is I say this every year, but it might be my last year I put in for that. Because last year I didn't make the wait list.
I've been waitlisted one time, but it was so far back, there really wasn't a chance.
Yeah. I mean, God, that's my, I think my 100 miler this year. Mm-hmm. But the problem is it doesn't draw until mid-January.
Yeah, it's really late.
Yeah.
As late as Wasatch, or just, right in there.
Yep. And so by the time you find out, your pickings are slim.
Yeah, they are. and that's the whole lottery thing now, is more and more races are becoming lotteries. It becomes a challenge. Yeah. Because, really, everybody should just get on the same page and say, we're going to all draw before the end of the year.
I think
so that everybody knows.
I think they should do it all on the same day.
That'd be wild.
That would be the cool.
Yeah,
you think
it really would be.
The website's crashing left and right. You'd have like 12 monitors tracking things. So Well, hey, before we get into it, 'cause what we want to do is we're going to cover lottery in general, and we'll probably talk mainly like Hardrock and Western, since those just took place. And we're going to get into the Hardrock itself, as we mentioned. I'm going to put Preston on the spot, talk about his thoughts for the podium, but also some outside shots from people, if you will. And then we're going to talk about the Bear and the Bear 100 lottery. But before we start, there's two things I want to ask everybody out there listening. So, where are you from? I'm always interested. Someone asked me this other day, where does everybody listen from? And I can pull stats, which is fine, right? But I want that interaction piece, like post somewhere on the social media or the website. Look, where are you listening from? I always enjoy that. When we first started the show in 2015, Woody Footy was huge. And that's Where Did Your Feet Take You? I post on, I know it's Facebook, folks, but Facebook every Sunday. And I like to see pictures where people are running because that inspires me. And we get stuff from like all these other countries, the middle of the desert from, people in the Army and different things. And it's super fun for us. So if you wouldn't mind, take a minute. It could be like city and state, just state, give me a little bit. So that's the first thing I'm asking, right? Second thing is I'm trying to finalize some races for me for 2026. And this is where there's so many out there. There's ones I have on my list, but I love what listeners provide me because I found some fun races, even though I've done this for so long. So I'm looking more on the 50K, 50-mile distance. I'm signed up for one race right now in March, the Siuslaw Dunes in Florence, Oregon. It's 50K, okay. March 7th. It's a race I've been looking forward to for quite a while, so I just registered for it. So I'm in that. But I'm looking for some good 50K, 50-milers. I have a few on my list, like McKenzie River, McDonald Forest, Tillamook Burn. There's some of those that I'm looking at. Mary's Peak, which is kind of one that's not like super high profile. So I'm looking at some of those. But where am I missing? Like, what are those 50K? And I'm a forest guy with lakes and rivers. That's my jam. So if you got something in the desert, maybe don't comment. I struggle in the desert. Yeah. What do you think?
So you hit on a couple. The Tillamook Burn one is one that Cody's talked about. I think he may hop in that 50-miler. I think as people in the Mountain West, we gravitate to stuff in the Western U.S. and the Southwest, just because I think it's really connected out here. When I was down at Hardrock this year, there was a guy, Zach Wilson, who actually got in the race yesterday, who is a race director for a small 50K in like North Georgia, Tennessee area. Okay. Pretty small grassroots race. Don't even remember the name of it, but I can find out. To your point, I'd like to check out some different things. Yeah. In the past, before my kids started getting busier, I really was kind of looking into that. It gets harder, as they get busier, as everybody knows. But, I think you listed off a lot of really good ones there. Locally here, I know it's already really popular and it's a little longer than a 50K and it kind of conflicts with a lot of hundreds, but anything down in the Tushers. Oh, yeah. That Tushers Marathon course is awesome. Yeah. Those sorts of races here locally, we got the Skyline 55K, really good course. Maybe not a lot of people know about that one outside of Utah, but I'd love to hear what the listeners think as well. What are those hidden gem 50Ks? The Mac 50K is one that I've always heard is incredible. Yep. I was in Corvallis this last week actually, and didn't get to check out the course at all. But
it's one of the oldest races in Oregon.
It is.
Ultras.
Yeah.
And same with McKenzie River.
Yep.
And there's also up there, down in California, Mendocino Coast 50K. I've looked into a little bit. The Mary's Peak one I've mentioned. I'm a Northwest guy. I love the Northwest, so I've kind of looked a lot up there. Daybreak Racing does some great ones. Rain Shadow Running does some great ones.
Have you ever run Chuckanut?
No, I'm going to Bellingham in 2 weeks for Christmas for a week, and I've run around on it. But here's the other caveat I probably left out. I like races under like a couple hundred people if possible, right? 3 gets big. Chuckanut now's huge.
It is
like
huge.
It wasn't this, and which is fine. I have no problem. I like that like solitude, low key, couple hundred people hanging out in the forest. That's my thing. So that's why I like that low key. You get like there's a long time I wanted to do Gorge Waterfall. That's ginormous now.
Yeah, it is.
Black Canyon when it first started, I wanted to do that thing is ginormous now.
It is huge. It's fun. Yeah, for an early season. But and all those races you're listing are fun, but they are very big events.
And that's not me. Like I get why people enjoy it, but I'm not necessarily a big guy for live streaming races and finish lines and that crowd and everything. I'm just a low key, just plug along, get her done type dude. So if you got any good ones, and it can be anywhere, let me know. So anyway, leave that comment. So that's all I got. So let's get into lotteries a little bit. So I think I'm old school curmudgeon. We'll start there. I used to get into races by signing, like writing on a piece of paper, writing a check, licking the stamp. Yeah, they weren't stickers then. And lick the envelope and mail things in. And then you just waited for, a month to see if your check got cashed. Basically, I'd hit my bank refresh instead of ultra sign up refresh. So things have changed, which I get. But lotteries are just such a hot topic. And I think the problem is there's so many opinions, and I'm not saying anybody's wrong. Nobody's wrong or right, really. I mean, it's everybody's opinion. At the end of the day, it's the race director's prerogative, right? And I thought about this a lot last night because I am kind of a grumpy old man. But I'm just thinking to myself, it's my race. I get the permits. I work with the entities, Forest Service, county, city, private landowners, whatever. I get the insurance. I get the aid station staged. I rent the porta. I do all the work. Mm-hmm. I can do what I want, right?
It's true.
I mean, you think about it.
Yeah.
And if you're putting on a race, 9.9 times out of 10, the person does it for the right reasons, mm-hmm. right? It's not a moneymaker, although you can. It's not like that's hopefully the biggest reason. But I thought about it. I'm like, if you're doing all the work, I think people shouldn't criticize so much. Like, everybody has an opinion, totally get it, probably now more than ever. But I was watching the Western Lottery, which I've never really got into, and just watching comments, I'm like, man, people are just kind of ding-dongs, right? Like, they don't get it. I see people ripping on Tweetmeyer, and I'm like, do you know who this guy is, folks? Like, come on, he's more than what you think just because he's goofing around. So, lotteries.
Yeah.
I don't like them. I'm going to start right out of the gate.
We had a lot of conversations about this.
And here's my thing, I don't look at every angle. I'm not in that. I get Western so huge, but I'm like, why lotteries? I remember if it fills in 27 seconds and the website crashes, mm-hmm. that's like a lottery, man. That's like risking it. I remember there was times I had 2 computers on at once, didn't know if I could do whatever, right? And so when I look at lotteries, I think it brings chaos.
Well, I think no matter what you do, it brings chaos, right?
Yeah.
Like whether it's the computer click last year, and we'll talk about this later, but with the Bear, Ultra Sign Up crashed. We had people that double registered. We had all sorts of craziness. And now you add the lottery, and that adds a different form of chaos.
Well, yesterday, Hardrock's crashed.
Oh, yeah.
multiple times. And I'll bring it up another problem later they had with that. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's all a game of chance.
It is.
Right? And so in my mind, I'm like, if I'm the race director, I'm not going to make it more complicated on the front end. How many tickets, tracking tickets. Western talked about having people do spreadsheets and double checking and email. And I'm like, that's a lot of work.
It is.
For volunteers.
Yes.
Right? You're not getting paid. Some people may or may not, but you're not making a living out of it.
No, nobody
right?
is.
So it's like, that's a lot of work. And, and then it goes to the lottery for me too. I'm like, I'm a one-on-one guy. If I put in for 10 years and I put in the 11th year, I get 1 ticket for that year because that's a year I'm putting in again. I think stacking tickets now, where the lotteries are so big. When I first started, I could kind of see it. I'm like, okay, this lottery's been going on for 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. But now that they've been going on forever, I'm like, we saw people yesterday with 8,000 tickets. Yeah. People getting in with 1 ticket. Yeah. But I like the lottery full-on Powerball style.
Yeah. And I think that I disagree with you because I do think you want to give people that can continually run a qualifier year after year a better chance than somebody who decided they wanted to run one qualifier 1 year and they get in and then they never run an ultra again.
Fair.
Which is fine. I got into Western States on 1 ticket in 2018, right? Yep. So you get in with 1 ticket, more power to you. That's a lottery. But I do think you got to give people who are around the chance to run these iconic races. And, I think it is a flawed system no matter what you do. People are going to question. People are going to say, well, is it legit? There's all sorts of questions in the background. But I do think it's the best, most fair system.
Which one?
I think, if I'm being honest, I like how Western States does their lottery. I really do.
I do too.
Because I think it just gives everybody, no matter how many times you've run it, the same amount of chances. You have to run a qualifier the same amount of times. You can't just decide 1 year that you're going to put in and get drawn. They do have the Golden Ticket Series for the elites, which, we'll get into that with the Hardrock stuff a little bit later on. And Hardrock has their own version of that, which causes some controversy no matter what they do. And it probably caused controversy if you could race your way in. So I feel like race directors are kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't. But the Western Lottery, where you have to qualify every single year, you don't lose your tickets anymore, which you used to. I really think they've kind of hit the sweet spot of fairness for the 270 spots that they draw for. So although you can say it's flawed because it takes forever. I mean, I had 64 tickets in this year, and somehow I had a better chance of getting into Hardrock than I did Western States. And the last time I ran it was 2018, and I put in every year that they had a lottery. It takes a long time, but as big of a pain as that is, I do think for what it is, with 11,000 entrants this year. When I ran in 2018, I looked, there was less than 5,000.
That's what I'm saying. It's just going to get bigger and bigger. It's
getting bigger and bigger. I do think, some of the tweaks they should make, I think they maybe ought to go back to, if you don't run a qualifier, you lose your tickets. I think they ought to go that qualifiers are 100-milers rather than 100Ks, because for example, I took advantage of it. One year, I wasn't in that great a shape, and I needed a qualifier, so I went and struggled my way through the Zion 100K because I knew I needed a qualifier, and that was it. So I think that's where I'm at from my perspective. Is I want them to make it harder to qualify, but that's because I know I could qualify. So maybe that's unfair too. Well,
I think too, you look at the 100K to get in for a 100-miler, and I think what they do a pretty good job, and I think all of them do, is not every 100K is a qualifier, right? Mm-hmm. Not every 100-mile is a qualifier. So at least they try, and again, we're talking these races on what they really are. Western States is a faster 100. Mm-hmm. It's a downhill 100 pretty much, right? So you're not looking as a qualifier like a High Lonesome, Hardrock, so when you're saying 100K at Zion 100K is not easy.
No.
Right? So it kind of does correlate a little bit on that Western side. The whole qualifying races is interesting sometimes, like to see races that are qualifiers and then some drop off and then some pick up again. But I think, you kind of hit it too, is if someone's putting in for so many years, right, why don't we leverage the odds to people that are older? Because they're phasing out.
Like, the Hardrock lottery yesterday, I think the average person that was drawn was over 50. It felt like. Yeah.
Well, and because that's not I'm going to get beat up by this one, I know that. But, take a look at Hardrock and Western on the lottery side. There's way more people in Western.
For sure.
Right? And I think there was way more people from other countries in Western, putting in for Western compared to like a Hardrock. I think Hardrock still, to me, is kind of like that veteran 100-miler.
I agree.
I agree. I'm not saying Western's not, but there's a lot younger, fresher, faster in that one. But like you mentioned it, but Hardrock, you look at a lot of those names and you've seen them on there before. Mm-hmm. Even if they never have run the race, there's names that you're like, man, they've been around crushing mountain races for a while. But I think so much confusion because there's so many race lotteries. Like, okay, what race should I run that qualifies for what race I want to run later, right? Because they're all different. Like, I'm going to run this 100. Oh, crap, that's not a Hardrock qualifier, but it's a Western qualifier. But maybe it's not a Bear qualifier.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a, another race qualifier. So there's one thing that's kind of you really got to pick and choose.
You do.
Right? But, you mentioned it too. It's like if you don't run a qualifier, you lose your tickets. I think if you get in the lottery and you say I'm not running, I think you should lose your tickets.
Well, that's how it used to be as well.
Because you just took a spot. Now I know someone's on a wait list, but you had a chance, but you were just putting in to keep your tickets rolling. Yep. You didn't want to run it. You had other plans, or you were hurt, whatever, and you get in like, I'm going to defer this year. I'm going to keep stacking my tickets. Yeah. And I'm like, that's naughty.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with you. And we have a good friend that is pretty badly injured right now, and he put in for both lotteries, but he knew if he got drawn, he was going to gut it up and run.
Yeah.
Because you just kind of have to, right? But yeah, You can't win as a race director in these situations, especially with Hardrock and Western. And, to your point, Western probably is the beneficiary of a race that, there's no such thing as an easy 100-miler.
No.
And with the heat and everything at Western States, it is a challenging race course. But that being said, it was my second ever 100. I wasn't experienced, didn't know what I was doing, and I had a great experience there. Yeah. So I think they are a little bit more able to make it more accessible that way. Hardrock has half the entrants available, or less than half, I guess. Yeah. And also, I'm not sure you want a bunch of first and second time 100-mile runners running out there, which creates some exclusion, which people get mad about. But as I said on the podcast where we talked about Hardrock, in 2017, 2018, if I would have gotten drawn, I would have shit my pants. Probably wouldn't have made it around, right? Just because my background wasn't of that nature. I had run a lot of road races. It doesn't help you at Hardrock. Yeah. So they're in a really difficult situation now. Are there things I disagree with about their lottery process? Definitely.
It's like what?
Well, and most of it isn't even about the race. It's about a lot of the veteran runners. Yeah. Okay. I really, and I'll put this out there. You guys can call me on it if I don't follow it. As soon as I get the chance to run the race in the opposite direction I ran, I'll never put in for Hardrock again. Yeah. Because I want other people to have a chance.
Sure.
Now, the pushback on that would be, well, you're not actually competing with new people. You're competing with all the veterans anyways. So you're not actually taking spots away from new people. Well, I think they need to revamp. They already have revamped the whole veteran else and never pools to just 2 pools.
Yeah.
I think they need to continue to scale back the veteran pool. And I think they need to take away the tickets that people accumulate for finishes. Right now, if you have 20 finishes at Hardrock, you get 20 tickets in the veteran lottery automatically. Yeah. For me to get 20 tickets in the veteran lottery, I'd have to miss the lottery 15 more times. Yeah. It's a lot to get up to that level. And I just think moral compass wise, if they took away that stacking of tickets, they put all the veterans in one pool, they cut that down to a number that was more manageable, they would just give more people the chance to run. But then maybe they would have deaths on the course. I don't know. That'd probably be their argument.
Well, and I think too, it's like getting people in it, right? Or into the sport. I mean, I've heard people say, I think when you run Hardrock, you need to sit out at least 1 or 2 years before you can run it again. Give other people a chance, right? And so then it's not fair for people that have run it once and they wander at the reverse direction. So again, no matter what we say here, there's not a right or wrong answer. I will say it appears that Western was a little more transparent with the way the lotteries run. Yeah. It's computer-based. They showed all kinds of info. They were very transparent with names. Not saying that Hardrock's not, but you're in one room. I watched the podcast announcers get in, both of them, right, in the room next to them. And one of them had his poles next to him. That was not staged or anything. But I think that one's had a history of being not transparent.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I'll just say it. I think they're being honest.
Sure, absolutely.
But putting it behind the door just makes it interesting. And because the other thing, we talked about this last night, but the fact that those Dale's picks just come in randomly during it, they can just populate a name whenever they want.
Sure.
If they did the Dale's picks at the beginning and just announced them, that takes that question out of the situation, right? Where it's like, oh, they just picked them at the start or they picked them at the end, whatever they're going to do. But when they just sprinkle them in there, that just adds even more doubt in our heads because
was
it's like,
that one really? Yeah, or did this another one?
And so, people always bring up, for example, the Currys, right? Yep. Nick and Jamil, Curry. One of them always gets in. Well, I'll tell you right now, statistically, with the number of tickets they have every year with all their finishes, of course one of them's going to get in because they both start with like double-digit tickets and they've done a lot of service down there. So, yeah, that's why they always get drawn. Yeah. But could they scale this back so that it seemed a bit more fair? They probably could. And if they did it in front of everybody, would it get rid of some questions? Maybe, but maybe not. I don't know. No matter what they do, people are going to question.
Well, and I would like to see the picks at the end, right? And so, for example, as you mentioned, Hardrock sprinkles them in. Like, here's one of Dell's picks, right? I would like to see him sprinkle at the end because what if one of those picks legitimately gets drawn, right, during the process, and you would still save your pick. And then I want to see the picks go to middle of the pack people, back of the pack people that volunteer, people that do the work. Yeah. That's where I want to see the picks go. I'm sentimental that way. I 100% understand, giving them to the top elite athletes. I get it from a certain perspective, and everybody's different. I'm old, I'm curmudgeoned, I'm ornery, I'm an ass, but I'm not as interested in the top 10 as I used to be. I think it's cool to see the stories mid and back of the packers that finish.
Yeah.
I really do. And I think this is why I like Westerns. I like the golden ticket because if you're in that quote unquote elite field, earn it. Don't get a free entry or don't get a bypass the lottery. Go earn it. If you don't want to go earn it, screw bypassing the lottery. Hardrock doesn't have that. You just throw your name in the list. And
you have to apply, I think, for those
12,
special
I read that. There's
consideration.
12 people. They pick 6 or whatever. 4, they pick, each male and female, which I think is great too on that side. But if you look at the men's field in Hardrock, without Dell's picks, those races, quote unquote competitive side wouldn't be as competitive-ish, right?
Well, and if you want to really double down on it, Dell doesn't even like to call it a race.
Yeah.
It's a run.
Yeah.
So is it a race or is it a run?
Yeah.
And also, I had another conversation with a friend just this morning, and going back to your sentimental picks, maybe they ought to do 2 elites and 2 service award tickets, right? Which, I mean, they kind of do, because if you do service, you accumulate more tickets.
You're still in the lottery.
But I think of our good friend Katie Brown. She's been running an aid station for years. She's been putting in for years, and she doesn't even make the wait list most of the time. I think she made it deep this year. It's somebody like that that's dedicated hours and hours, and she packs stuff into their aid station, and her husband helps and her friends help, and it was so good to see him out there this last year. But it's people like that I really want to get in the race, because that's what ultra running is all about.
Sure.
And then the inverse of this, and I have to apologize, I always look at this through a male lens because I'm a dude, but when you're talking about these picks for the women's race, Katie Scheid's coming back.
Yeah.
Then you do the 3 Dell picks. That's like 10% of the women's field.
Yeah.
That's a big chunk that they're taking away.
Well, they had 33 women in the race this year? Or in
so
2026?
Yeah, so 4 women that are picks, which, again, Courtney DeWalter, incredible runner. Kareth Arnold, incredible runner. Tara Dower, incredible runner, right? It just makes it more difficult for those women who haven't gotten into the race. And they're damned no matter what they do, but I just would love to see a bit more of it is a great community down there, and they've done a great job building it up. But man, when you see somebody with 8,000 tickets and it's because they've been an aid station captain for 1 million years, that's crazy that it took them that long to get in.
Yeah, and I think again, we've talked about this. I know there's a lot of people out there disagreeing. Some might agree, whatever. But I think it's a challenge when it is important to a lot of people. And again, it's a race. We take it for granted. In the big scale of things, how important are, trail races and this stuff. But if you want to get in and you do the extra mile, you go down there just to volunteer and give back to the race. I like that they give you tickets. I do like the Western side. If you're one of those quote unquote runners that are going to get the elite picks, go earn it. You have a whole year to go win a race. And a lot of people do that on the Western side. Hardrock doesn't have that, and I know they only bring back the top runner.
Yeah, the top runner for each gender.
And Western's top 10. And I know Western's got double the field for sure. But still, that's a cutting into it. I would like to see Hardrock at least offer maybe the top 3, men and women, because those are people sometimes you're going to pick anyway, right? Like a Dell pick, if you will, in the next year anyway. So give that to them. That way people can earn a chance to be in again if you're looking at that competitive field. But I think it's just weighted sometimes for that elite runner, and that's where I struggle. I think, the sport, everybody talks about inclusion and all this other stuff, but this is one of those things that, is going to be difficult. You've seen lotteries sway, with the percentage of the women get in, based on, people getting in. And I'm like, man, if I was a woman, I would go tell 10 of my friends to register for the race to increase the odds of women, even if they don't get in.
Yeah,
right?
well, and that was something. There was a big push a couple years ago to get more women to register for Hardrock, and I said, true, but what we really need to work on is women registering for Hardrock qualifiers.
That's what it is.
That's where we need to increase the number.
Yeah.
The Bear, our women's field, no matter what we do, is kind of in that 35-40% of the runners max. And I think that's even high. It's usually around 30.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where, what can you do to increase that without getting more women to register for qualifiers? And it's tough.
Well, and it's just unfortunate. And I know that people have tried really hard to, make that change in a lot of the races go. But I mean, when you look at the women's field for, Hardrock, there were 14 female finish, right? And there were 19 first year.
Yep.
That's just not a lot.
Yeah.
Of
19 first year, and only one of those was a Dale pick, right? Because the other 2 Dale picks had already been finishers before. And Kareth Arnold, she's our women's course record holder at the Bear. Super pumped for her. She's a great person. She's put a lot of time in, it sounds like, volunteering at Hardrock. So that's one of those maybe where, as an elite, she won TDS last year too, but she's also put in the time. I mean, that's probably the best Dale pick worlds. You could come with, right?
And I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I know that there's some sentimental stuff. I know you want to see a competitive race. I know there's some history. I mean, I get all those things. I would love, in a perfect world, to see a Hardrock 100 elite race and then a Hardrock 100 run. You know what I mean?
They
like 2 events.
Yeah.
I mean, in a perfect world, but it's not.
And honestly, that's a great thought. And with their permit, I'm sure they probably could pull something like that off. Because right now, I think it's just it's a capacity of the towns thing, like we talked about. But if you did them on separate weekends, I guess the problem would be, does everybody just go down a week early and flood it because they want to watch the elite race or whatever it is, right?
If that's what you want to do. They do it now.
Yeah, they do. They do it already. You're right.
And so maybe you make that elite race more like sponsor heavy for money. Make it a paid winner type thing. Get the sponsors involved. And the following week, all those veterans stick around and volunteer at the aid stations for the run. Yeah. Right. And they can earn tickets, vice versa. Yeah. So I don't think it wouldn't be a volunteer.
We just solved the problem right there.
All right, well, that's what we do here.
There we go.
Perfect world.
I mean, honestly, I think that would be something to consider. If you had 30 elites that wanted to run the race, you do the elite race the weekend before, and you commit them to volunteer the next week, and you say, let's do it. And then you get 150 regular runners every single year get to run the race.
And they get to experience something, right? I don't know. I just think it'd be a perfect world. I know it's difficult and you got to pull a lot of stuff off, but you can get sponsors already involved, get some sponsors involved. You'd have people, excited about it. I just hate to see, I really do, I wasn't in either lottery yesterday, but I watched them and there's so much sorrow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of excitement, but there's a lot of sorrow because you're trying for years and years and years. There's watch parties. There's all this stuff. It's why can't we spread the love as much as we could probably do? Yeah. And I know they do. This is not a knock on any of these races or race directors. I love both the races we're talking about. I totally get it, but it'd be fun to try and come up with some alternatives so more people can experience that event. Yeah. Right.
And I think where Hardrock has a bigger advantage is because based on some inside information and just our knowledge of Forest Service permits that we have, I don't think they're operating at the top of their permit.
Probably, yeah.
And so where Western is, right? Western is maxed out every single year. So they'd have a bit tougher of a time, I think, doing the separate elite versus not, regular person fields. But I do think it could potentially be an option for Hardrock because I've heard through the grapevine and kind of realized through the grapevine they probably could get a few more people in their permit, and if they split it up, maybe that solves a big problem.
Well, Buffalo Run, Jim Skaggs had to split his race days because they only allowed so many per day, right? So he used to have 800 for one day on the island. Well, they had him switch it, so he had 400 one day and 400 the next, right? Because of different race distances. But some of these permits too, when people talk capacity, I mean, you got to take account pacers, that's an extra person, but it is true. Hardrock's capacity in the town is much smaller than an Auburn, than all that whole stretch, right? Yeah. So I don't know, just some thoughts, right? That's all we're doing. This isn't the biblical Bible.
Listen to us.
But no, but we're not dummies. We're crowd pleasers here. But I'd just like to see more people get experience. And as people say, you can always go down and do soft rock. Yeah, but it's a different experience.
It is.
You don't have the aid stations, the people there, the community there. I mean, I used to go to Hardrock quite a bit. A good friend of mine, Scott Jaime, ran it almost every year. I'd go down as much as I could, and it's a fun get together of like-minded people that enjoy what they do. I've done soft rock or gone down for the soft rock weekend. It's kind of the same thing. It's a fun, like-minded thing, but just getting people to experience these things I think the mayor of Auburn was on the feed yesterday, and she's like, come anytime. The trails are always here.
She said they're open year round.
They
I think
are.
She said,
and I get it, but it's like it's just a little different.
It is.
Right? It is. It's a little different. Whether you want to race it or not, I mean, it's beautiful, but yeah, there's no right or wrong. I will say the one thing I was disappointed with Hardrock. The one thing, literally disappointed, Mindy Campbell didn't get in.
Oh, that was heartbreaking.
That was dirty.
Heartbreaking. And like the comments are going wild, like, oh, that's Mindy Campbell, and everybody knows the Campbells, and they've poured a ton of time into the ultra running community over the years.
Yep. Jared Campbell.
Yeah.
Mindy Campbell.
Yeah. Her husband's a former Hardrock champion, for crying out loud. And it was very sad. And I saw like Jared had posted and Mindy had posted like, oh, that was an exciting 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But I felt so bad. For those that didn't see, Mindy's name was on the screen for at least 5 minutes as if she had been drawn and it was an error.
Well, they said it was a parental deferral.
Yeah.
And they just mixed the name. So someone did get in on a parental deferral, but it was the wrong name. But just think about your name popping up and you're already partying. You're excited. You're jazzed. And then 5 minutes later, I'm sorry, there was a mistake.
And not to mention, it's not like this was her first entry. She had 128 tickets in the lottery.
And I think she's like 12th on the wait list too. So her chances, I mean, on the women's field, your chances are slimmer on the wait list because you're just not. I mean, you're basically saying everybody that got in has to not go for me to get in.
I mean, I was talking to Alex Elizabeth last night, and she said that the whole field and 5 of the wait list would have to drop for her to get in with her weight.
There's a chance.
I mean, I guess if a pandemic happens again or something, maybe everybody goes to Western and gets sick and can't run Hardrock. I don't know.
So I said this, and I hope people can hold me to it. Next year at this time, the day before the Hardrock lottery, I want to hold my own. And everybody on the list gets 1 ticket, and I want to see what my result looks like to the actual results.
Okay.
And I get to pick people too that I like. And we'll see what happens there. Right?
I like it.
Just as a pseudo, because they say they do practice rounds, right? Like Western did this is my practice round, but I'm doing it my style. Like I'm gonna get my own lottery system and I'm gonna put it to practice. And I'm going to compare it to their results.
And everybody from Ogden gets into both races.
If I like them.
Yeah.
If I like them. I'm not doing the West one. That's too many names. I'll do the Hardrock like pseudo lottery. So hold me to it because I'd love to do that. So let's get to the we've kind of talked about this. Love to hear your comments. I mean, again, this is just for fun. We're not putting anything on the spot. Just ideas. Nothing's perfect. Everybody tries. I appreciate everything that both of these races do in general, and I know it's not easy, right? And I trust both races. If you do or you don't, that's up to you, but I trust they do it the best they can. I think there's enough people in the room that are credible people that they wouldn't let shady stuff go on, right? If it was one guy in the back room, behind a curtain that just popped out and giggled every once in a while with a name, then I
mean, Dale did pop out and giggle a few times.
Yeah, he did.
No, I'm just kidding.
So let's talk a little bit about Hardrock because we still want to talk about the bear. Hardrock lottery. This is early. I'm going to start with Preston. Preston's kind of a ultra nerd. He tracks things. He knows things. He's got percentages. He's got numbers. He has birth dates. He has horoscope signs for these runners that help cross. So let's start with the ladies because that one to me will be the better race.
I agree.
No offense, fellas, but the women, I think.
The men's race we'll talk about. I think it's actually pretty stacked, and I've got some hot takes, I think.
Well, that's what we want.
The women's race, as I look at it, we finally get the Katie and Courtney showdown.
Yeah.
Neither of them, to my knowledge, is going to try to run Western States. They're both going to focus on Hardrock. On a true mountain course, we get the Courtney-Katie showdown, and I think it's going to be pretty epic. They both had good races there. They both, done well. I do think Courtney has an edge having run this direction, obviously, and just understanding that. But, the Courtney and Katie showdown, and then you throw in people like Kareth Arnold to it. That would be, probably my podium because Tara Dower is going to run Western States. It'd be great if Tara didn't run Western because then I think you'd really have a slugfest at the top. But yeah, that women's top 4 or 5 is going to be really exciting. You also have Casey Lichtig in there, former Western States champ.
Finally.
Yeah. I mean,
she's
she's been putting in forever. And I think that's exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch the women's race.
Well, and we talk about it all the time, and we all know this. I mean, there's some exceptions, but the more packed you are at the podium potential, the more things can go wrong, right? Because you're pushing at that point.
For sure.
You're running scared. You're chasing somebody. You might, and again, we're talking some seasoned runners, so it's not like you're going to expect someone to, miss a gel, right? Or something, right? But it just changes the dynamic a little bit, because especially you hear a lot in the races, and I think Jeff Browning talked a little bit yesterday, like running scared in races and how it just changes your thought process, your mentality. We talk about it on the show. You got your ultra math you try and do later in a race that can kind of confuse you. But I think the women's side for me, I'm more excited about, because you do have the names you just mentioned, but you also have some, and I don't want to say newer, because I mean, everybody's been around at some point, but there's some women on that start line that's got some thick resumes of some tough races, both in US and elsewhere. And so always, like you just mentioned, the names pop straight to your head. But in my mind, it's like, could there be a dark horse that just DL that's on this list, right, that knows that people are going to be focused on those 2 to 3 people? Right.
Yeah. And, you bring up an interesting point. I think about the year when Courtney blew up and lost. And gosh, her name's escaped. Oh, Sabrina Stanley.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Sabrina was just close enough to put the pressure on Courtney that Courtney had to dig deep, and she blew up. Do Courtney and Katie blow each other up, and then Tara has a bad day, and, does somebody besides Kareth hop in there? Eliza LaPierre ran this year. Does she make a huge improvement? There's other very experienced runners there that you just never know is going to happen. And I think in a race like Hardrock, having that heavy competition at the top could lead to some surprises.
Yeah, for sure. I remember, I'm older, so I remember Diana Finkel, and she used to push the men in the Hardrock 100. And she, unfortunately, would blow up more than not, because I think she was really trying to prove something too. And she had some health things here and there, but she would change the dynamics of races back in the day, because for the women and the men, because she was so aggressive.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's like the ER or PR or ER mentality, and you'd like to see more finishes, but there could be someone like that in this race that's like, all right, I've been watching from afar. I'm going to chase these girls down. I'm going to train my butt off. I'm going down to Silverton in February, and I'm going to train like Rocky, climbing up the mountain in Rocky 4 in the snow to start with, right? Live in a barn, and then I'm going to train hard.
It's been done before.
It totally has.
It's been done before. I mean, that first kid, and he's escaping my mind, you'll remember because it's old school, but that first kid that went under 24 hours, that's what he did.
Well, and The interesting thing there is when he won the race by like 6 or 7 hours, and Scott Jaime finished second that year, 6 hours, 7 hours behind. And
wow!
I remember Scott saying, "I finished first in the human field," because
Scott's pretty elite for the human field too.
Yeah, but that was a year. Man, it's escaping my mind. It was him and his brother. And if you wouldn't have said anything, I would have totally spit it out, and I'll come up with it later in the podcast. And someone out there's yelling at the mic at the radio.
Yep.
But yeah, it's entertaining. So yeah, the women's field I think is going to be super exciting. There's some solid finishers on that.
Well, I think there's 4 women there that could all place in the top 10 overall too, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Katie was 5th this year overall or 6th this year overall. Courtney's been top 5 overall there before. I think Kareth's right there. I mean, I think it. To your point, what do the men do when these women are right there in the mix?
Yeah, well, and Jeff, I think that was one of the things yesterday was he was talking on the live stream, and he's like, "Man, I could hear these yapping behind me," and it was Chrissy, Chrissy and Darcy, were right behind him, and he blew up because he was trying to like stay ahead of them. And me and Joel for years talked on the show. It's like at one point it was like it's not going to be long for the women are crushing, coming in the top 10, and now then we started going. it's not going to be long before women just outright wins a race.
Yeah.
Right. And that's happening in some races too.
And I just want to throw this out there too about Courtney. For those that are nerds like me, today she's running the CIM marathon.
That's right.
And she's trying to rip it. She's probably done.
She's probably
done. I'm really interested to see how she runs there because she's an incredible runner.
Yeah, she is. She's gifted. So you mentioned it. Is there some of those names we need to be keeping an eye on then in the women's field that maybe be under the radar right now because of the spotlights?
I don't.
Yeah.
But I think that top 4 is just really loaded. What do you think? Do you think there's a surprise in there?
I do, and I don't know who it is. I'm going to be honest with you. Because what's interesting to me in this race in general, right, like Hardrock over some of the other races, is I don't necessarily think the most recent results or youth is as impactful as longevity.
I don't either.
I think, you have racers that have, placed in like 2022 and 2023, right? And people are like, oh, that was a few years ago. But it's like, yeah, but now they're smarter, right? Especially at a race like Hardrock. I think there just comes into play so much of that mental side, game plan. I'm going to be smarter. I'm going to know not to go hard at the first because the race doesn't start till mile 70 or 80, right? Or whatever that looks like. So there is a sentimental favorite for me, Monica Oakes, out of Bellingham. She's been around for quite a long time.
Yeah.
When I first got into the sport, she's part of that Chrissy crew that always does stuff. She finally got in. She's tough.
Was she at Chrissy's watch party? Was that one? Okay,
yeah,
that's what I wondered.
She's tough, and she's always been tough, and she's been coached by Browning. She's friends with Chrissy. So for me, I think she's going to be sneaky. And it's not like you look at the women's field or the men's field, like when people say, oh, but they're this old, I'm like, even better, right?
Yeah.
Like they inspire me. So like there's people like that to me that I think can come from a place that is just smart. Like I know what I can do. I'm not going to get caught up in the hoopla. I'm just going to be like Tom Remkes locally. I'm just going to plug away and pick people off, pick people off, and then I'm in the top 10.
And on that point, I think where the women's field, where I think it's a little tougher is those women at the top, they've run the race before.
Yeah.
I think last year in the men's race, you saw like Zach, who incredible runner Zach Miller is.
Yeah.
Without that experience, you saw, Ludo's experience. You saw, some of those other runners really just get through the course better. And I think on the men's side, that's where you'll see some of those dark horses really put some pressure on some of those Dale's picks.
Well, and the one thing we don't have 100% knowledge of, which plays to me probably one of the bigger roles, is what their race schedule looks like before Hardrock.
Correct.
Because you mentioned it with Tara running Western. Because we've seen this before. Quite a few runners really have done both the Western Hardrock double. So you could have a name like a Tara. We've had, Bronco Billy running Western and then, Hardrock. And I think that also plays into it because, we've gone through stages in trail running and ultra races that early on, there wasn't a lot. And I say early on, I'm old, but there wasn't as many races. So runners would come in, the Juriks, the Meltzers, the Krars, the Jeff Rose, the Andy Jones. These guys that just crushed it, and the women back in the day too. They would not race all the time.
Yeah,
right. So they would come in fresh, and now sponsorships have come in, and we went through a trend. To me, like 10 plus years ago. Where it was like, how many races can I run? Because now I'm earning money when I run. So when I was with Pearl Izumi, we had some young guys coming in, and they were trying to race like all the time.
Yeah.
And we had some veterans, Ian Torrance, Scott Hymes, that were like, hey, slow it down.
Yep.
Like you're going to kill yourself, and you're not going to do as well. Hayden Hawks had that problem when he first came out. He wanted to race too much. So I think it goes to this too, like what is their prep races?
Yeah.
What are they doing before these events? Are they coming to win? Or are they coming to run?
Yeah, and I think we are starting to shift to where most of them are coming to win.
Yep.
Right? Like Caleb Wilson's not running Western States, even though he's the defending champion. He's focused on Hardrock. I think Tara, of the top men's and women's runners, she's the one. And I guess Jimmy will have a decision to make too in the men's field because he was drawn in the lottery for Western, and then he was a pick for Dale. Historically, he's not been one to shy away from not running. He won a golden ticket to Western one year and declined. So I think it's getting more and more where folks are focusing on the specific events. I just in the men's field though, I think where you'll see some of the interesting dynamics is you've got a guy like David Ayala, who was 4th overall this year, get back in going into next year, and does a guy like that do Tom and Caleb go out too fast because they've never run the race? Do they have a Zach moment? Do they not have their best day? And a guy like David Ayala or a guy like even Schlarb, Terranova, Ryan Smith, these guys that have run podium times at Hardrock and are experienced at Hardrock, do they really put the pressure on some of these young guns that are super talented? I mean, I don't think any of those other guys I just mentioned will ever run 14:10 or 14:14 at Western like Caleb did. But
they're different races.
They're different races. Yeah. And these guys are seasoned, veteran mountain runners. And I just am really excited to see how that field plays out. Because, yeah, you've got these young guns that were the picks, but you've also got these wily veterans that are also incredibly fast. And I think that's where the men's race will be that dynamic you're talking about. Yeah. There's going to be somebody that's a surprise. Because I just, as good a runners and as calculated as Tom and Caleb are, I think there's that chance that at high altitude in that race, it's the longest they'll have ever been on their feet, period. What happens?
Well, and again, being a different race too, like, you mentioned a lot of those names there, and there's, you look at some of these runners and they say, oh, but they finished 3rd at this 100-miler at Hardrock, but you don't know who was ahead of them either, right? No. That could have been a year when it was like, oh, it was Killian, it was Walmsley, it was so-and-so. Yep. So it's like, that could have been a first-place year for that individual. So like Arlen Glick, is one. Yep. And then my dark horse sentimental favorite, Nate Jacqua.
Well, Nate Jacqua, professional soccer player,
it, baby.
Hurt 100 champion. I actually ran the Hurt one year that he won. Didn't finish because those that know me, I've DNF'd that twice. It's the hardest thing I've ever tried. But that guy, he is big and fast and nimble on his feet. And he's going to be ready to roll.
Well, and my other thing with him, he's a ex-professional soccer player, but he also played striker.
Did he really?
And if you know anybody that played strike, that they got a mental side to them where they're aggressive, they're selfish in a good way. Because he's from Oregon, which is my favorite place. He did, like you mentioned, he won Hurt in 25 and 23, so fresh still.
Yeah.
He won Crazy Mountain before, which is another tough one. But man, and his mentality, like when I look at his job, he was a professional soccer player, played for Chicago, then Minnesota, then the Galaxy. He went overseas and he played for Houston, then he played for Seattle.
Yep.
Like, to get shifted around like that, that's a mental thing.
You got to be resilient.
And he's got 3 caps for the national team.
Yeah.
How could you not root for Nate? Come on, Nate.
Especially in a World Cup year. Right?
So that's my guy. That's my guy.
Honestly, I love that pick. Had he run Hardrock before, I'd be even higher on him. I do think anybody that wins Hurt is going to show well at Hardrock. He won Crazy Mountain. He had a rough go at Wasatch, I know, because Wasatch is a whole different thing. But the guy's an incredible runner, and I think, I love that dark horse pick.
That's my dark horse pick. It's really sentimental. Do. It's a little sentimental because he's a soccer guy, but I also like his resume, and just like I said, the position he played. That's so mental.
I didn't know he had 3 caps for the national team.
3 caps.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, he plays.
That's
first
a big
one,
deal, folks. I don't know if you know that.
His first one was against Norway, US won, and he almost had a goal.
Really?
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, the guy. He obviously has 3 caps, but you're also playing back in the day with his position. There were some dudes.
He's probably up against Dempsey, right?
Yeah.
Like Dempsey and Donovan, that group, and Altidore, and that's.
He's 6'3".
Yeah.
Imposing. So long legs for those climbs. That's my guy.
Yeah.
That's
watching him, I'm telling you, he's light on his feet too. Watching him at Hurt navigate those routes, it was a sight to see.
Yeah, and you mentioned, we didn't talk about like Dylan, like Bowman. And Dylan's just the nicest guy on the frickin' planet. When we were doing Team Pearl Izumi, he was on our team one of his first years as sponsor. Just like such a down to earth, gentle, awesome dude.
Cody and I ran into him this year when we were down there training, and he stopped and chatted with us for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
He's just the nicest guy.
He is. He's but there's so many names, and then the last thing, that we, talk about too, anytime these races, it's like any given day.
Yep.
Right? To me, it's ultra running, specifically that longer distance right, is more about the day than any other sport.
It is.
Because whether it's team or individual, there's so many variables. And I know Chrissy said it yesterday when they were talking to her on the Hardrock side. She's like, it's about dialing in your nutrition.
It is.
That's what it is. And she, it was great to listen to like Jurek and Bronco and Hal and them just talk about how things have changed, right?
Yeah.
Like the nutrition, the travel, the gear, the technology, and it's like, and even I think it might have been Jurek, and he's like, we didn't really take it as serious. Like we did, right? But not like people do today.
No, definitely not. But to Chrissy's point with nutrition, sure, but what about the weather at Hardrock?
Weather's huge.
Where do the storms hit? This year was perfect weather. What if it's terrible weather? Who's good in that? I think back even to road running and the Boston Marathon, and there's been years where people who had no business win because it's a downpour. Does that happen at Hardrock? It could.
Get into a different part of the course at a different time when the weather's a different way, right? I mean, it's so true. Anytime you get to those high mountain races, once you could be on the climb and it's beautiful, you get to the top and it's a shit storm, and then vice versa, right? So I think that's one of the reasons I love this sport so much, is just you can't control it, right? Like some other things in your life, and it's that mentality of rolling with what you get. And some people are better than others, and some people are better at it than others on different days. How they feel. So I'm excited for both races. I mean, we're not talking Western right now. To me, that's too difficult, because it's just a different race with so many people.
Well, Killian's going to win this year. I think he's going to win. Have you ever heard of that guy?
I've heard. We used to call him the Hornet.
Yeah, Killian Jornet. I mean, and I think this year he'll finally wear the white jumpsuit again.
I hope so.
No, I really think he'd be my pick there.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of unique in the women's race, just so we mentioned it a little bit, but they're returning the whole top 10.
Yeah,
I mean,
only got 7 coming back.
Yeah, and that's a lot for the men, but I mean, that women's race is going to be loaded.
Yeah.
The men's race is going to be loaded. But I just really not an old guy in the sport, but I've been around long enough. I just really would love Killian to win, but I'd also love if Jim doubles back and decides to race Western again. And I'd love a Jim Killian showdown at Western.
Both of them in their peak.
Yep.
Like fitness.
The peak of their powers.
Right?
Yeah. It would be just incredible to watch those two do battle.
Yeah. I remember, I've told the story before, but I remember being at Western when Killian came over in his white gear. And I remember we had some Perlizerumi runners. It was a big year. We had Nick Clark, and he was 4th, wasn't he, that year or something? We had like four runners in that race that year. Might have had Josh Brimhall.
Yeah.
I think Jaime might have run it that year.
Okay. Was Gary Robbins a Pearl runner at that time? No, he wasn't.
No. But there was somebody else, and I can't remember who it was. Anyway, and I remember I was like, I don't want to like this guy. I don't want to like him. And I was with the Pearl crew, and our guys were like top 5, right? And then you had Killian. He had his own ensemble, and it was back and forth at aid stations with Killian's support crew. They're smoking. They're like ignoring us. We're trying to talk to him, and I'm like, man. And then I'm like, I don't like him. And then after the race, I met Killian, and freaking nicest guy. I'm like, you little dirty bugger.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to be a jerk, but you're like the coolest dude.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting to like go back to that, unbreakable year and watch Killian and watch how he didn't even carry a water bottle.
No.
At the end, he finally tucked a plastic bottle into his waistband. But now he is so calculated, and that's why he's running faster now than he did when he was 20, right? Because he's, first of all, incredible athlete, best endurance athlete all around, maybe of all time. The things that he can do for 2 months at a time or 14 hours. And
whatever it takes.
I just am really excited for him to be back. I think that's really cool.
Well, I thought it was interesting too, because I was there that year and there was so much controversy because he didn't carry a water bottle. And everybody's like, they're muling for him. No wonder. And I'm like,
not.
They're like,
he almost died.
He's special, man. Like, and he did. Like, but give him a break. But nobody knew. He had his results in Europe, but nobody knew just how talented he was. And so it was like, if you're going that fast in the aid stations, like some of the people may not
Yeah.
want to take water, but you should either way, right? Like I'll do a 10-mile run and not take water when it's cool, and I know I should, but I'm like, I just don't feel like it.
Yep.
But when they're moving that fast between 8 stations, you know.
Well, and I will say, just to give the old Western folks a break, they're not the only ones that questioned him, right? Because his first UTMB win, he got stopped multiple times for gear checks because they're like, there's no way this 18-year-old is winning this race. So it's not just an American thing. Everybody was like, who's this young, dumb kid? Yeah. And it turns out he's the best ever.
And now everybody's like, we love him.
Yep.
And it looks like he's finally making a really good shoe, the CIDA. I'll say it wrong because I can't pronounce things, but the new shoe coming out. All right, so that's our jam on that. Let's talk about the Bear real quick. So the Bear 100, Preston is on the committee. I don't know your official role, so I don't want to overspeak.
Assistant to the race director. So I'm the Dwight Schrute for Cody and Beth.
So Cody and Beth are the race directors, and Preston is the helper. He's the little elf. But as many people may or may not know, I guess, Bear 100 is moving to a lottery for the first time ever this year. How many years has the Bear been going on?
So this will be year 26.
Okay, 26th year, and it's the first time the Bear has done a lottery. Yeah. And I know when that was announced, there was both sides, just like we've talked about. So when we're talking about Western and Hardrock, and you think that I'm a pickin', like Preston and Cody are good people and they're friends, and I love the Bear, and they're going to the lottery, so we're not going to hold back. But there's people that were happy. They're like, oh, cool. And there's a lot of people that weren't.
A lot of people that aren't happy.
And the Bear 100, for folks that know, is here in Logan, Utah, so not too far from where we're at. And it's historically been kind of a local race. Mm-hmm. Early years, that's pretty much all it was. Leland Barker, it was a local race. They had all their little quirks and things that people laughed at that were serious, but laughed at, course markings, and Leland had run first and dropped flag and all this other stuff.
What did they call those, Eric? Do you remember?
What?
When
Leland turds?
Leland poops. Yeah.
But yeah, the Bear's gone to a lottery, and I'm going to let Preston explain it. But the first thing I want to ask you is two things before we get into the why. Mm-hmm. Will there be a live stream?
No, there will not be a live stream. We actually got texted yesterday by a friend that said, please just don't make it as long and boring as some of these have been. And I said, well, good news, we're not going to live stream it.
So there's that. I'm going to cross that off my list. I was like, are they looking for an MC? So that's done. And what are you going to have, like a lot of transparency?
Depends on what you mean by transparency. We're going to announce ticket counts. We're going to press a simulator button.
Okay.
And we're going to announce the list.
Are you doing open split time?
Yeah, we're going to use open split time to post the results. They've got a system built out, so we don't have to build it. Cody is an engineer, for those that don't know, and his son is also a math whiz, and they've built out exactly the odds and how things are going to work. But yeah, so there may be some complaints about the transparency, but the way we're going to draw it, and there are some, picks that Cody gets to make as well, based on the fact that we do want some of these people that have showed up year after year after year to have the chance to keep running. There's not that many for the Bear. It's not like some of these other races where you've got tons of people that have finished 10 times. There's just a few. So that's in general how it's going to be. And if we do start to get a ton of people entering, we may have to be more, transparent in the sense of like we may have to live stream it. So people aren't asking if we're doing weird stuff in a back room, but I don't know if we'll ever get to that point.
Okay, so why?
Why the lottery?
Why the lottery?
Well, last year, it sold out in 5 minutes.
Okay.
We had people where the computer crashed and they didn't know if they got in. The wait list filled up completely to 400 by 4 p.m. the day the lottery opened. And, we felt very strongly that your job that you do or the time zone you live in shouldn't affect, your chances of being able to enter. And we feel like, generally speaking, we just want to give everybody a fair chance. And, I know how you feel, as we already talked about earlier in the podcast, that, well, that's part of the lottery as well. But it stressed us out last year. We got a lot of emails. Cody got a ton of emails that day.
Wait till this year, I'm going to email him.
You should. You should, but he'll just laugh.
A bunch of fake accounts.
I mean, we've already gotten a lot of emails, but he gets a lot of emails every day. But we just felt like it was the right thing to do in order to keep it as fair as possible. And just Ultra Sign Up crashed, and we don't want to deal with that again.
So my lottery, if I had a 100-mile race, I would go back to printing a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And putting a check in it. And I would throw them all in a pile and just randomly grab one out every time.
Yeah.
How cool would that be?
Well, I mean, that's the year I got drawn in Western. They still had the big wheel out there that they were spinning, so they pulled my name out. It is very cool
because you can't see the name.
That's true,
right?
It's true.
I'll put a hole in anything
name you wanted.
I'll put a hole in anything. So you talk about like you want to make it fair for people that have jobs or different time zones. What about their commitment to getting up on time or taking their break when they should?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's
I'm kidding.
I know.
I get it. It's like, hey, if I want to go on a run and I got this, and this, and I need to plan it, I'm going to plan it here. Same thing with registering. I've done it before in my days. Like I've been on a trail run and stopped. And
there were lots of people that registered mid-run last year.
Tried to.
Tried to. Yeah.
Okay, so I get it. I'm not knocking it. I just, again, being from here, 20 plus years and seeing the bear when it wouldn't sell out.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just any race at sometimes. Seeing it to go to a lottery, I was kind of like, oh man, like more lotteries.
Yeah.
Like I know Crazy Mountain's not a lottery, and they're gonna sell out probably same thing within 10 minutes this year.
But they've already announced they're planning on moving to a lottery. Yeah. The other piece of it too is as you look at it, and this is more of a weird tick thing, and this is more me. So this is me talking. This isn't Cody. But historically, the Bears always kind of been a backup race for a lot of people. People would sign up for our race, and then if they got into something else, they would pull out. So it's created this system of turnover. People would hop on our wait list that maybe didn't even really want to run. And we really think that by doing this, we'll get a committed field. So that is a warning to everybody. We don't anticipate the wait list to move like it has. Last year, we cleared all 400 names on the wait list because it's just been the super backup plan. And we want it to be a premier event. We want people to want to run our race, which I think it's the best, low-key, local 100, point-to-point course in the Mountain West. I'm biased, but hey, if I want to fluff an endorsement, Brian Powell's been giving us a lot of love on our Facebook page. He thinks it's a great race. Yeah. A lot of people think it's just an incredible race. Yeah. And we want it to be plan A. We don't want to be Wasatch's plan B, the plan B if you don't get into Wasatch.
So I have a solution to some of that without doing it is just like no refunds.
Yeah.
Period. And if people complain saying, well, because it was my backup, well, it's not my fault. And then you got even a better race because now you guys have a lot of money and you can like do more things. You can bring in like taco trucks, full-on aid stations.
We could. Right? I mean, we just do a partial refund for now, and then the closer you get to race day, you get less of a refund. But again, Cody is trying to be as fair as he can. Sure. But we did talk about, when we were talking about the lottery, because we didn't want to do it, we were brainstormed with you even, like, what could we do to push this back further? And Cody could run the data and say, well, actually, I don't think that's actually going to change anything. I talked about the qualifying window. Right now you have to run a 50-miler within 4 years of the race. It's a super simple qualifier.
It's a long window too.
It is a long window, longest that I know of. I asked him, well, what if we put that to the year before you had to run a 50? He said that would have eliminated 30 people. Like it's stuff like that where we arrived, the refund policy, he doesn't think would make that big of an impact, and it would just make people angry. And
I don't think it. So here's my thing for everybody that is out there listening, and I mean this. I think refunds, you shouldn't even get any.
Yeah,
I really do. Like I can see it for like deployments, pregnancies, both men and women on the pregnancy side. I still think that should extend to the men because you want to be there to support your spouse or your significant other. But I think you sign a thing most of the time says no, because I've done this in different things in my world where it says no refunds, and they say, well, I got sick, I got a new job, I got sorry, like you know what I mean? Like I think if you enter and you see there's no refunds, I would keep it simple for it's your business.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's your business. If someone buys something from you and then 6 months later says, you know what, I don't need this anymore because I hurt my ankle.
It's not Costco, folks.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You would know about that, Mr. Bin Return.
Hey, I mean, there may be some incriminating evidence in a past podcast, but let's...
But I feel for race directors. I really do. Like, there's most people should, but there's so much that goes into putting on an event. I don't care if it's a 100-miler or a half marathon. There's so much like, ordering shirts, ordering medals, ordering insurance, all this stuff, and your numbers consistently change, and people like, I want my money back. It's like half of it's just got spent.
Yeah.
I've already spent half of it, right, for whatever it is. So I struggle with that part. Like, I think if you're a race director and someone drops out, take the money, get someone else registered, there's more money for you.
Yeah, well, and we kind of do that, right, currently, but we just don't take the full amount at this point, which, you know, it is what that's just where we've landed. But to your point, this last year, I was in Wasatch. I paid my $400 or whatever it is to run Wasatch, but I knew there's no refund policy. After Hardrock, I wasn't ready to run Wasatch, and I knew I wasn't getting my money back.
Yeah.
And me as an adult, I knew that. But, you know, talking to my friend Mark Robbins, who's on the board at Wasatch, they get so many people calling and being annoying. And I think that's really where race directors are, is it's like, what can I do to cut my emails and angry phone calls down? Which, you know, so if you're out there and you've complained in the past, just remember this weighs on these race directors. Sometimes Cody forwards me emails that are interesting. And it's pretty wild, the things that people will say. And, you know, Cody's not making a living off of this, right? Him and his wife both work full-time jobs and are race directors. You know, and
they have you as a little elf.
Yeah. And me as Buddy the Elf and Dwight Schrute. Exactly. And, you know, we're not making money off of this, right? Like, it's, here, Preston, here's some money for gas. Thank you for all the times you drove up here. But I'm happy to do it. And Cody, is there a little bit of money involved? For sure.
There needs to be. It's a business. I'm sorry, but it's a business.
And we want to continue to make the event better. And so he's pouring money right back into it. You know, every year we've improved something with the race, whether it's buying another Starlink, whether it's, you know, improving the finish line, renting tents, bringing in better food, better beer. That's, we definitely need to step our game up there, but we still are in Utah. But it is one of those things where I just want the listeners to remember, next time you go to send an email to a race director, just remember that they're probably doing their best.
Well, and sometimes they got families, they've got other things going on. Like Jim Skaggs would send me some emails he would get, and I would just chuckle. But his replies were even better. He just did not give two shits what people thought about him. He's like, sorry. Oh, well, bummer for you. Thanks for coming, you know, that mentality. So what are some of the things, like with the lottery, you know, people can expect? Because yours is a little different. I read through it, and there's a lot of, like, I'll call them bullet points, basically meaning there's a lot of variables to it. Like, I don't mean variables like things change, but I'll say rules, but guidelines to the lottery. And I know Cody is fantastic. You are as well. So I know there was a ton of thought that went into this, regardless of the, you know, engineering data. I think there was some human process behind, you know, what went into it. So you came up with the best way of doing it for this race, knowing that it could be different next year, right? Based on a trial and error thing. But like, what are some of the things that maybe you're doing differently than some of these other races? Yeah.
So, I mean, the general format is going to be very similar to like a Western States lottery. The difference being the biggest difference that sets us apart is that if you've run the race before and finished, you automatically get one extra ticket.
Okay.
But that's it. So you get one extra ticket. So this year, anybody who's finished the race has double the chance of anybody who hasn't run the race, which puts it at about, if you've run the race before, you got about a 60% chance. Currently, we've got about 650 people that have entered the lottery. If it gets to 1,000, it'd be about 60% chance if you finished, 40% chance if you haven't finished. And then every year, those ticket counts double, right? So next year, if you didn't get in this year and you've got to finish, next year you'd have 4 tickets. If you'd never finished and you didn't get in this year, next year you'd have 2, and that's how it will go. But also next year, if you ran the race in the past and you didn't enter this year, you would start next year with 2 tickets. Okay. So that's where we're different, and this is all on the website. Cody's outlined it.
It's perfectly. It's pretty well put together. I read through it.
And something else is, overall, we're going to draw more spots than any lottery right now. We're going to end up drawing for over 300 spots because we are going to have those bear tag spots, which there's going to be 16 or so entrants from the bear tags, which for those that don't know, we've partnered with local 50-mile races, except for one that's a little shorter in the Twisted Fork, where the top men and women have a chance to enter the bear. And we wanted to do that to drive maybe some interest at the top levels at those local, shorter distance races, and create a bit of a series in a sense. And then aside from those entrants, we're going to have every aid station captain gets to pick somebody every year. And it's not a comped entry, but it's an entry into the race. So after that, that takes up, we'll call it 30-ish spots. And then Cody is going to set aside about 20-ish spots, which are going to be reserved for people who have run the race a lot, people who have volunteered at the race a lot, and also anybody who's like a Rocky Mountain Slam hopeful.
Okay. That's the one I was concerned about, to be honest. So when I read that, Rocky Mountain Slam has changed over the years, so there's a lot more races involved, but realistically you have to run the bear. That's the mandatory race, but it's the last race. So that's when I was like, man, what if you've done all three and can't get into the bear? So that's the one I'm happy to see for sure.
Yeah, and on that note, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to run the Rocky Mountain Slam so you get in the bear. You have to be registered in those other races. Events, and you have to show Cody that you're registered.
So let me ask you this then, because that's one thing so if I say, I'm not everybody, if I'm registered for Scout Mountain, Bighorn, Wasatch, right? And then I say, can I get into the bear? Do I have to finish those?
No.
Okay.
You don't have to finish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't, if you still wouldn't complete the slam if you've DNF'd one of those. What if I was a no-show to one of them? Would I still be
at that point we've committed and you paid. Okay. There is going to be maybe some feelings there, but if you're registered for all the races at the start of the summer, we're going to allow you to be an entrant in the bear.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah, and we aren't going to kick you out of the race once you've been accepted.
That'd be awesome.
That actually would put a lot of pressure on people to finish.
Hey, man.
Maybe we should put that in there. If you don't finish any of the previous events, you're kicked out.
Then you can get someone on the wait list. Because this person's already run a couple hundreds this year. Give someone else a chance.
That might be something worth discussing for sure.
What if I'm registered and I only want to run the bear, but I know that's my only legit way in?
Yeah, and that's something like I've seen that happen with Wasatch before, where you get people that are like, oh, I'm going to run the Grand Slam, and the Wasatch guys are like, but you're not even signed up for any of those races. Like, so I've seen people try that before. Yeah.
No, I think that was the one I was probably the most. Where the bear is the mandatory. I'm like, boy, how bad would that be if you finish 3 really tough and they're like, oh, you didn't get in.
Yeah, and historically, we're talking about a pretty small number of runners there, right?
What this year was there like 10? Yeah, 10, which isn't a bad number. Considering
it's a big number actually, but we don't ever anticipate that getting too crazy because that's a lot. I mean, I've never finished 200s in a year ever.
Yeah,
finishing 4 like what Adam did, what Tara did last year. My friend Kyle Markusich this year, like that's a lot to do the Grand Slam.
Especially depends on which run races you do. Because I mean, they're all hard. Don't get me wrong, but some people do more than 4. Out of the, I don't know how many are there. 10 now, 8 now, 10 now.
Yeah,
something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, different. It used to be there were 5.
Yeah,
and you could pick 4.
Back when you could sign up for Hardrock on race week.
Yep, Leadville, Hardrock, Bighorn, Wasatch, and Bear.
Yeah, and historically, Phil Lowry and Leland came up with the Rocky Mountain Slam to drive people to the Bear. Yeah. Because the Bear, the first few years, I think, had 25 people. Hal Kerner's out there and 24 of his closest friends, and, that was the Bear field.
Well, that's the way I like it. Catering to me. No, I think it's good. I'm interested to see how it comes out. And if you don't get in and you don't like the lottery, don't email these guys because I didn't email Hard Rock or Western because I wasn't happy I didn't register or get in. But it is. I mean, that's why we tried to preface the beginning of this saying, lotteries are a whole new. At the end of the day, none of us know unless you're involved with that race behind the scenes, really what goes into it, and it's difficult and it is what it is. But if you don't like it, and I've said this before, even if I didn't like something, don't run it.
Yeah, just run another race.
Yeah.
There's a lot out there.
And I'm not trying to be curmudgeon, but I take that personal as well. Like there's races that I don't agree with something and it's like, well, I just won't run it.
Yeah.
And it's no offense to them. It's your race. Like I get it. Just like I don't, eat at some places that have food that I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I'm not going to eat there.
Exactly.
Right? I don't like the taste of this beer. Why am I going to drink it?
Yep.
Right? Like that's the way it is. And that's the same. But the Bears, I'm excited for the Bear. I hope you guys can pull this off year one and maybe And because there are some unique things to yours where it would be nice to have some of these other races. And I know races do this, but like look at others and see what they're doing and take what they do right and tweak it on their own, that type of thing. And it'd be good to see this be successful, obviously, because it is still special to me, even though I've never finished the Bear. But it's a special race in general, so it'll be interesting. What else do you have for that one? I think the lottery will be. When is the lottery?
So we're gonna draw it here. Let me pull up. I think it's in 2 weeks. So it closes. No, the lottery closes this Saturday, and then I believe we're gonna draw the following Saturday.
Okay, so the lottery closes on the 13th. 14th. That's a Sunday, right?
Yeah,
because that's Cascade Crest opening. No, Cascade Crest lottery opens February 1st. Everybody, that way you don't challenge me.
Yep. Here we go. We've got our cheat sheet here. So the lottery will be it'll be December 27th,
okay,
and it closes on December 15th.
Okay,
so I was pretty close.
So it's your post-Christmas present to yourself if you get in.
Yeah, and we wanted to, again, and we made we put a lot of information out there, but we wanted it to be so you could sign up after the Western and Hardrock lotteries. But again, we want to be your A race.
Yeah.
So we're trying to draw before all those other races because we want people that want to run our race.
Sure.
Because I think it makes it better for everybody. That it's something everybody wants to do.
And it's this way on different distances all over the U.S., but this is for the local people in the area too. This is a special event.
It is.
Right?
It's a great end of the year.
You want to keep it special, but you also, like we talked about earlier, get some new people experiencing it, right? But also have the like you said, just want to be there. So,
and keep in mind, if you don't get in, a great way to get in is find an aid station captain and go help them out.
Yeah.
We've got great aid station captains, great aid stations, and helping there just increases your odds.
And they've definitely, to me, improved over the years for sure.
Oh yeah,
and that's not a bad thing before, but I think, like you said before, trying to like elevate the experience of the runner is key, and not about what you take home in your swag bag, but like what's your experience on course.
Yep.
Like I know my wife ran it a couple of years ago, and I remember pulling in, I think it was Tony's Grove, and they had like French fries, and I was just the crew, and I was like, man, I hope my wife wants some French fries. So she came in, I'm like, you want some fries? She goes, no. I'm like, are you sure? You look like you need some French fries.
Hey, and right now, as long as we've got our wonderful aid station captain, friend of the show, Trevor Fuchs, they're doing pizzas, fresh made pizza at Tony
Pizza
Grove.
ovens. Yep. That's really cool. Well, all right. Well, I think that's kind of a wrap on that. Yeah.
So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, it was fun to talk about some of this lottery stuff. It's a hot topic. There's going to be people not happy, people that are happy. It's kind of life in general. But wish you best of luck to all the people that do put in for the Bear, because it is a magnificent event. You will not regret it. And I like the idea because it truly was. I remember back in the day, it was your backup race. It really was.
Yeah.
And mainly at the time too. It's like, if I don't get into Wasatch, I'm going to run in the Bear. And that's sad because I like the Bear course better than the Wasatch
I think
course.
It's obviously I'm biased, but it's a much more enjoyable course.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's that 3 weeks later makes the weather better.
Oh, yeah. Or worse.
Yeah, or worse. We've been pretty lucky. I probably just jinxed us.
Yeah, there you go.
It'll be another snow bear, but no, it's really just a wonderful point-to-point, clean mountain run.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah. No, and again, Wasatch is a great race. That was my first. I've ran it 3 times. I love the history there because that's my jam too. And it's a great event. The course unfortunately had to change so much that makes it challenging, because some of the parts I enjoyed are not there anymore. And some of the parts there now I'm not as a fan, but it's also because it's hot.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the reason
hard.
I like Bear better than Wasatch is like it's 90 degrees at Wasatch. It's dusty. It's hot. It's miserable. That's what makes it so. The course is technical.
What they call it, heaven and hell.
Yeah, it is 100 miles of heaven and hell. So in no way am I disparaging that race. It's just hard, and because it's so hard, it makes me not enjoy it as much.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's a good race. So, all right. Well, there you have it. There's a quick little rundown of Hardrock, dabble into Western. Talked about the Bear, more what's going on. So, Preston, thanks for coming on. Again, if you have time, we'd love to have you leave a rating or review, just so we know, how we're doing, what you like, what you don't like. Give us some ideas. You can always message me to trailmanners@gmail.com. And don't forget, we got some great partners, friends. I get nothing out of this, but like Death March Running Company, Squirrel Nut Butter, Path Projects are all friends of the show. There's a small little discount on all the show notes. You can try stuff for the first time or stock up as needed, give stocking stuffers. But there's some fun stuff happening with all those brands, and I just got stuff from all of them recently that I paid for, and just good love. Oh, I love gear. But you guys all know that. You've heard that before. So, but yeah, thanks for listening to Trail Manners Podcast with Preston Wood. This is episode 347. I'm Aric Manning, and we are out. Thanks for listening to the Trail Manners Podcast. If you love trails as much as we do, make sure to follow Trail Manners on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, or swing by trailmanners.com for more stories, gear, donations, and ways to support the show. Got an idea, a favorite story, or someone we should talk to? Hit the contact page or email me at trailmanners@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, share it with your crew, subscribe wherever you listen, and drop a quick rating or review. Every little bit helps to keep this show running. Until next time, I'm Aric Manning reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.